How have you been filling your days and communicating with your staff and your players?
Yeah, uncharted waters to be sure, but our whole approach has been what does this make possible, right? Turn this challenge into an opportunity. And so, just like we were just talking about kind of offline with what does it make possible in our home life, what's it make possible in our work life, what's it make possible from our football perspective, especially with the players, it makes focusing on academics even more of a priority than it's always been a priority. But realistically, here, this is the only priority, right? It's the only thing we can control, and so. What we've been doing as a staff, I just joked with my wife as I ran into the kitchen earlier to make lunch and then ran back into my home office. I feel like I'm maybe busier now than I was because there isn't that walk into the guy's office next door. You have to set up a time to jump on Zoom. So that's how we've been meeting with it as a staff is on Zoom and then having a lot of breakout meetings, and it's given us time to evaluate our process in every area, and then it's given us the time, obviously, to maybe be better teachers. Teach instead of one day on day one install, 1 week on day one install. So it's a lot of information I just threw at you, but believe me, we've been full days and really working hard, and then just staying with our off-season goals of creating connection within the team and technology allows what we're doing right now and things that, we couldn't even have imagined when I was growing up or even as a student athlete in college. So I think it's pretty neat as we've jumped on some of these Zoom meetings just to touch base with guys, just to see how everyone's doing, how excited the athletes have been to see each other's faces, right? We were so used to seeing each other. It's been really fun to see their eyes light up as they kind of get into their inside jokes.
Well, you were the first guy I thought of in terms of losing spring football because just how valuable that is for a coach in your position right now. What was your first initial thought when you found out you weren't going to have a spring and just knowing that you needed to set those foundation bases, for this fall?
Yeah, well, again, let's take this challenge and flip it into an opportunity. We got some guys coming back from injury that, quite frankly, we were going to be limited in the reps we can get as a football team, just so that we could make sure we didn't push the envelope and then put other guys at risk. And so, all of a sudden we look at it from the exact opposite perspective of now we're all on the same level playing field of everyone's getting the exact same amount of reps, and that's zero. Right, and so that's not a bad thing. We got a quarterback coming off injury, missed our final game. We got some other guys that are working back from things, and so it's really, I think, again, if we think of it as what does this make possible, it makes possible teaching at a even more elementary level, and I think that will make us better football players come the fall when we can finally get back together.
Are you doing anything special in recruiting right now that maybe can separate yourself? Because I know everyone's on the same level, but how do you continue to recruit and reach out to different guys, being limited with what you can do and not being able to host guys and also go see guys?
Yeah, it's everything in recruiting is personal connection, in my opinion, anyway. We're looking for the guy that's going to choose Eastern Illinois for the people. And for the young men in the locker room, for the men on the coaching staff, for the support system that's in place, and so we can still emphasize what our strength is, and that's our people, and that's 100% always going to be our strength. And so we're really excited about this opportunity to create face-to-face connections. I've been touching base with recruits and they've got to call us at this time of year, and I've just, as we've set that up, I've had a guy call me and I went, "Hey man, hit me on FaceTime. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this over a call. Let's look at each other in the eye." And again, I think that they're not in school, so it creates a lot more time in the day that we can have those face-to-face conversations when we're looking at guys that were football players, but they're also track athletes in the spring, and they're in National Honor Society, and they get home and they got to do their homework, and they have to be really smart about how they budget their time for coaches. Well, there's more time for us to actually look them in the eye than there was in the past.
Sure. How much do you feel like you've set the foundation now? Are you still working towards that? Do you feel like you're at a place with your program, not on the field, but just culture-wise and where you hope to be, at this point in?
Yeah, I think, 180 degrees different than we were a year ago, and we better be, or we're certainly not earning our money, right? But I'm really, really happy, excited about where we are right now. Our guys are truly buying into our core foundational values. We're living it every day, and I think most importantly, we're doing a better job as a staff with that follow-up of coaching those things and being able to coach those things, because we're not worried about all the other things that we were in year one. We're able to truly focus on what's important.
Speaking of that, adjusting and having to do that and growing in the process, and that being, I guess, more difficult in a sense, but like you mentioned, maybe it's better that you guys are having to go through some things that are not customary for a program at this point to kind of maybe hold you together.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. We're trying to do the best we can to think of it that in those terms, and if we are as a staff truly 100% thinking in those terms, that this is uncharted waters, but it's uncharted waters for everybody. So let's just stick to the plan. Now we got to stick to the plan with continuing to create connection. That's our number one goal this whole offseason: create connection, compete, and stretch our best. Those are the three things we're talking about this offseason. If we stick to that plan, then it's going to dictate what we need to do. We just have to think within those terms. And so we think within those terms, and I think this is going to be an easy excuse to say why we're not connected as a football team. But if we keep that as the main thing, right? Randy Walker used to say all the time, keep the main thing the main thing. And if creating connections is the main thing and we stick with that, I think we're going to be doing pretty good when we come out of this, because we'll have focused on the opportunity to create connections in different ways. We've talked as a staff. We would never have been able to hop on a FaceTime call with a player and his mom sitting at home cooking dinner together, or get introduced on a FaceTime call to everyone's pets at home. But now we will, right? I mean, let's enjoy it, and let's truly enjoy the process.